Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now whilst I often talk about high value items here or how to make yourself appear perhaps more of a high value individual, I have in the past and will always continue to do so to review products which are modestly priced, even one might be described as cheap, as long as they fall into the category of being excellent value for money. And around about 4 years ago, I carried out a review on this watch here. This is the Casio W-800H digital watch. Now, it's still in the Casio range to this very day, and it is a watch which at the time I reviewed it, I made the bold choice of saying this was the world's most capable watch. What I should have caveated that bold comment with is the world's most capable watch maybe for under £20, because at the time I paid, I think it was £16 something, so under 17 British pounds for this watch here. And it's been with me this 4 years. I've been wearing it regularly. Now, not consistently. I will caveat that at the very beginning. I am something of a watch aficionado and I do enjoy wearing wristwatches. However, my normal wristwatch choice on a daily basis would be a Swiss manufactured automatic watch, and if I'm being honest, I could narrow it down to I typically wear Rolex watches. Today I am wearing a Rolex GMT Master 2 in the root beer configuration, which has been a watch which I tend to wear in the autumn because of the brown colours on the bezel. So my little Casio W-800H tends to get relegated for occasions where I need to wear a watch which is, I'm not going to say disposable, because I don't class this as a disposable watch. It's not a watch which you should think of as a commodity to be worn and thrown away after you've worn it. Not at all. This is a watch which can stand the test of the ages. 4 years of consistent wearing. However, in the last year, it has had a hell of a test, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. But just let me refresh your memory as to why I think this is such an excellent watch. And let me just get my phone. I will give you a close-up of the watch as I film it for you so you can see it itself. So here is that little Casio W-800H. Now, apologies for the reflection. As you can see, I'm in the outdoors and there's always going to be the challenges of that as we face life. So what can I tell you about this one? Quick refresher. As you can see, it's got a resin case, fully resin case and strap. Now the strap is quite a long one. You normally get quite a bit of the tail left over when you wrap it around your wrist. I reckon this would accommodate somebody with up to an 8.5 inch wrist. It's got a pin buckle on the end. It's Casio signed, as you can see. And now, bearing in mind this watch has been worn for 4 years, you will note there is virtually no signs of wear on this watch. But let's talk about the functionality, because I did initially say this was, well, I boldly said this was the world's most capable watch. Why did I think that? Well, as you can see, proudly emblazoned on the dial, water 100 meter resistant. This watch gives you 100 meters of water resistance. On the back, you can see that it has a steel plate which is screwed down, and that gives you that water resistance level. And let me say, I'll tell you in a moment of the tests this watch has had. I can attest this is a water resistant watch. Inside is obviously a quartz movement, but it has a 10-year battery power, so they tell us. I haven't got to that point yet. So far, after 4 years, no problem at all. Its rated level of accuracy is +1 to -30 seconds of accuracy per month. So absolutely, it would be certified chronometer level if it were to be an automatic watch, that's for sure indeed. Now it's the functionality within the watch which most people are drawn to digital watches for. As you can see, there are 4 pushers, 2 on either side, stainless steel pushers. And they operate the functionality which we have here in the watch. You can see that there's a day-date feature, so you can see it's Monday, and you can see it's 8:41 AM. It is rather early, that's why it's somewhat dark this morning. There's also an alarm function. Now these are all operated via the buttons, which are marked. As you can see, there's light, there's, I haven't got my glasses on, 12, 24 hours, so you can alter the function to display it in 12 or 24 hours if you were to push it hard enough, which I can't right now. You've also got the mode and the alarm and all that sort of thing with the pushers. But lots of functionality. The alarm is a daily, monthly alarm. I never really dug down into that. I don't tend to use the alarm when I wear this, but and as you can see, it is set on an alarm setting, I believe, at the moment. But it chimes away when you need it to, sometimes when you don't want it to, if you haven't set it properly, but the alarm works rather well. Now it's got an auto perpetual calendar here, an automatic perpetual calendar. So once you set it once, as you can see at the bottom, it is set to the date. Once you set it once, you never need to set it again, because it knows if it's a leap year, or if it's a month, as it is as I film this in September with only 30 days. It does the adjustments for you, unlike the other wristwatch I'm wearing, which has a date function, which you've got to change yourself. So none of the practicalities of a Casio watch in a watch worth multiple times more. The day date feature, I told you about that. It's got a stopwatch feature on there as well, if you were to operate that. And the stopwatch feature operates over 24 hours. So a little bit better than the standard Rolex Daytona, which operates its stopwatch feature over 12 hours. So really, really functional. And that stopwatch calculates time to 1/100th of a second. So yeah, very useful. Far more useful than the vast majority of chronograph wristwatches, and something as simple as this unit here. Now you see it said there, it's an illuminator. That's because it has an LED backlight operated by using this button here, and that casts an orange glow over the dial or the display when you need it in low light temperatures or total darkness. More than adequate to read. However, if you were to use that constantly, it would obviously run the battery down, so you want to somewhat avoid that to a degree. The glass which you see is a resin glass, so yeah, it's going to show marks, it's going to show scratches, but those can easily be removed by using poly watch or even toothpaste if you wanted to polish it up a bit. So lots of, no need to worry about this watch, that's the point. And if you wondered about the size of it, well, it's 37 millimeters diameter and it's 13.5 millimeters thick. So it's not a small little watch. Actually, it fares up quite well when you put it alongside a much larger watch. Now, hang on, if I can, this is going to be a test, isn't it? I've got only two hands here. Give me a second. I'm going to set it up alongside my Rolex GMT Master 2, which is a 40 millimeter diameter, and as you can see, it doesn't look small in any way, shape or form. So it's definitely appropriate for anybody's wrist size as a functional, capable watch. So, as I said, this watch has been through a hell of a test in 2023, and there's a reason for that. I've got a teenage son called Alex, right? And he loves wristwatches, probably taken on his enjoyment of them through osmosis of being around me and seeing me talking about and embracing and loving automatic wristwatches as he's gone through his young life. And over the years, I've gradually fed him the watches that he's worn to try and encourage that interest in an art form, which I believe wristwatches are. So his very earliest watches, I think I gave him a Seconda. Then as time went on, I gave him a succession of Seiko wristwatches. A couple of years ago, I gave him a Seiko chronograph, which in fact had been a gift to me as well. And that watch he loved, nice blue dial, but he gave it a right thrashing. And in fact, I think we were on holiday somewhere abroad. He took it in the water. It was credited as being 100-meter water resistant. It had a screw-down crown, but it let the water in. That watch died. After that, I gave him an old watch of my own, which was a quartz movement Seiko sapphire watch, sapphire glass, nice stainless steel bracelet. He wore that, thrashed it to bits. I had to change the bracelet several times. I felt like a bit of a wristwatch mechanic keeping that one going. It's still going on his wrist, but earlier this year, the bracelet went flying in one of his in one of his rough and tumble scenarios, and he was bereft of a wristwatch for a while. So I looked in my small collection. I was running out of old bangers now to give him, and there it was, my Seiko W-800H, what I claim to be the most capable watch in the world. And I thought, this is going to be a really good opportunity to give this watch a real-life super test, because you give a watch to a 13-year-old boy with his interests, and if it can come out smiling at the end, you know that watch is a pretty tasty customer. So, let me tell you what Alex put this watch through. Now my lad, he's really active young fella. He's a big fit boy and he is engaged in many sports, many activities. So his day-to-day most common activity he does is mountain biking. Now, although he's quite young, he is into quite serious mountain biking for a kid of his age. Believe me, it cost me a fortune in the mountain bikes and keeping the damn things running. And he's always, thrashing his way through the bush. He's got all the kit, wears, helmet and gloves, but this is the watch he always has on. So he's going through, thick brambles and woodland, and the watch is always being snapped or smacked up against the limbs of trees and things like that. To look at this watch, there's not a mark on it. I have to say, this watch is super resilient. His sporting activities, which he does, he's heavily into hockey, all right? He loves his hockey, plays it every week. As you know, hockey is a contact sport. You've got to really get stuck in with hockey. There's lots of wooden bats and balls flying around. He's often in contact with these things, as is the watch. So far, no signs of damage on the watch at all. Now, he's a bit of a scout, right? He's into the Boy Scouting movement. And earlier this year, he went on the annual scout camp of his scout group. They went away for a week. They camped for a week. The watch never left Alex's wrist, and it went through all of the trials and tribulations that the scouts were put to themselves. Now, these included a water park where the watch was, entirely submerged in water for a good number of hours. They also did a mud obstacle course where basically the watch would have been subjected to liquid mud and bashes and bangs for a good couple of hours. Also, all of the other things you'd expect as well, sports and fighting and being in the water, canoeing and so on, a typical scout camp. When I picked him up after he was dropped off back at scout camp, do you know the first thing he said to me in the car on the way back? He said, "Dad, this watch is unbelievable. I never took it off. I thrashed it. It did everything. There's not a mark on it. It never let me down at all." Now, that's enough of a test, a real life test. That's like you and I wearing this watch for 10 years. A kid of 13 wearing this watch to scout camp and wearing it with absolute abandon. However, the week after scout camp, we went straight on our family summer holiday to Greece. Now, we went to a nice hotel, but the kids, Alex threw himself into the sporting activities. He did beach water volleyball, so that's, where you're standing in water up to your waist. He played beach volleyball at the 2 organised sessions each day, every day for a week. That is 3 hours of beach water volleyball every day. And the watch is either submerged in water or on his wrist as he's hitting the ball over the net. So constant, a dynamic movement with sharp bangs. Not a problem at all. In addition to that, we were in the pool. So we had a nice pool in the hotel, and also the sea was right next to us. So we were in the pool, I would say 2 to 3 hours per day, either in the pool or in the sea. So salt water or chlorinated water, every day, 2 to 3 hours. Now, I was wearing my Rolex Submariner. I often wear that watch when I know I'm going to spend a lot of time in the wet. But, when you've got quite an expensive watch on, you're a little bit reluctant to perhaps put it to the test in some areas, because it would be quite a crushing blow if you lost a watch like that. Whereas a watch like this, you really don't care, because, you can really put it through the meat grinder of life. And if it went wrong, well, what have you lost? Not an heirloom that you intend to pass down to your family in the future, but a watch that can be replaced tomorrow for a very reasonable price. So the long and short of it is, after all of that testing, after all of this watch being abused, to be honest, utterly thrashed, as I say, put through the meat grinder of life, as I look at it now, as I've shown you, there is not a mark on it. I mean, you can tell it's been worn, obviously. And, it's not without a bit more flex in the bracelet, for sure. But this watch today doesn't look too far removed from the watch which I bought for under £17 over 4 years ago, which I wear when I'm doing rugged activity. I wore when I was an active duty police officer. This was the watch on my wrist when I did patrol duties, because I knew if I got into a fight in any sort of rough and tumble, it wouldn't really break my heart if the watch got pulled off my wrist or damaged. So this watch, aside from Alex putting it to the test, I certainly have as well. And it has never been found wanting. And its capability is equally as valid today as it was when I first bought it. You know, that perpetual automatic calendar, the dual time function, all of the other things on here at the sort of touch of a button are there to make your life easier. And when I think about the Rolex, what am I wearing today? GMT Master 2. The only functionality this watch has is a bit more than others, actually, because it does have a dual time function. It does allow me to tell the time elsewhere, but it also has a date function. It pales into insignificance alongside the capability of this small watch. Now, it's still available today. It is on the Casio website, still in the catalogue, still in production and available to be purchased. It's grown in price, so it has appreciated. Whereas I paid under £17 for it, today I believe on the Casio website it's about £30, but if you were to track it down on Amazon, for instance, I think it's about £28 or so. So I think it's an incredible purchase. So if you're a watch lover and you have your beautiful watches, but you look for a daily wearer, a beta watch as we call them, of course, which you're not concerned about, you can wear without compunction or worry about it being damaged, I suggest to you the little Casio W-800H is perhaps one of the fundamental best buys on the watch market today. It's not big, it's not bulky. Why spend a pile more money on a G-Shock when this is equally as capable? This is the way to go if you want something that is functionally capable at a very modest price. And I can swear to that. 4 years on the wrist and counting, not a mark on it, going strong, and I don't anticipate that record to change anytime soon. So there we go. You have my absolute recommendation. I hope you've enjoyed this video today on the wonders of my little Casio. If you have, do us a favor, give the video a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can either leave me a comment section below, drop me an email, you can buy me a coffee, or if you really want to get involved, you can become a patron. I make additional video content for my patrons, and we've got a different dialogue going on there, personal dialogue with me and my patrons on my Patreon channel, and all of the information on how to access these things are in the show notes below. So, until the next time, wear your watch with pride and passion, and in any situation you like, if you've got a Casio. And I will see you again very soon.